Welcome to According to Sam, folks. This is episode 432. Thank you for joining me today. Happy Friday. Hope you guys have had a good week. We're going to pick up where we left off in the last podcast. And we are still talking about this Nolan Wells case because, as I've been telling you, that racial tribalism is one of the crises that we are dealing with in our third century crises, keeping up with the theme that we've been talking about if you've been watching the podcast. And this Nolan Wells story, I've been saying that this story has to do with politics, that Nolan Wells is the George Floyd of 2026. I've been saying this for 5 weeks, and I've been telling you that this all has to do with politics. This all has to do with riling up angers and resentment and all of the trauma of Black Americans to get Black Americans to the polls and to motivate them to go to the polls in November and to elect Democrats. And I've been telling you, this is a strategy that was not only used in 2020 with George Floyd, but it's a strategy that Democrats have been using for a long period of time. And Black Americans are the vehicle, as I've said, for the rise of Marxism. And the rise of Marxism is happening in the Democratic Party. If you don't know that, if you haven't been paying attention, then, please start paying attention, because the rise of Marxism is happening in the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party is using Black voters because, as I've explained to you, I've read the article that I wrote back in 2023, talking about why Black voters are so important to Democrats and how Democrats really cannot win without Black voters. So this is all a ploy. The Nolan Wells case is a ploy to again motivate Black voters to go to the polls in November and elect Democrats. And this week we got some more confirmation of that this is nothing more than politics, and we're going to get into that today. But I want to go back to 2020 and the George Floyd situation and talk about what happened in that situation. Now, what happened, this was late May, as we were going in the summer of 2020. COVID had already started, and we were already in the middle of lockdowns. And some cell phone video of George Floyd attempting to arrest George Floyd, and then he wouldn't. We find out later when the long form video came out, the body cam video of each one of the police officers came out. That comes out, months later. But in the May of 2020, when this story first kicked off, the only thing we had was this cell phone video, and the cell phone video was being passed around, and it's only showing the end of the incident when Officer Chauvin is kneeling on George Floyd's back, neck, whatever. It's called the maximum it's maximum restraint technique. MRT, I believe that's what it is. MRT technique, where Derek Chauvin was kneeling on George Floyd, and he ends up dying. And this is what started the protests that started there in Minneapolis first. And they did all the looting of the Target and tearing up Minneapolis. They tore up the police precinct. The mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, you remember him, and his performance kneeling and crying in front of George Floyd's gold casket, like this was his, like this was one of his family members. This is completely performative. I want you to look at a little bit of this just to draw on your memory. This is what Jacob Frey crying in front of George Floyd casket, completely performative. But they're using this as politics. It was this guy's decision to hide the body cam footage from the officers, from the public, to keep that hidden, to keep all the context of George Floyd resisting arrest. Look at this guy. Completely performative. This is what these guys do. This is a Democrat strategy. Is what I'm trying to get you to understand. So they did this in 2020 and the protests start in Minneapolis. But after the protests started in Minneapolis, the next day, I think it was May 31st or May 30th, when the first protest went to the White House. And I remember asking myself when this was going on, why are they protesting at the White House? I can understand them protesting in Minneapolis where this happened. I can see them protesting the police department in Minneapolis at this time because we didn't have the long video, the body cam video. We didn't really have all the context. But I guess you could have made a case for why it made sense for the protest to be going on there in Minneapolis. But when they took the protest the very next day after this to the White House, I was like, what's going on? Why are you taking this protest to the White House? What is the White House? What does Donald Trump have to do with what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis? And if you don't remember, that night in Washington, D.C., the protesters, Antifa, the rioters, they destroyed the White House complex. They destroyed Lafayette Square. They attempted to burn down St. John's Church that is across from the White House. It was so violent that that Donald Trump was taken to his underground bunker for safety. And I want you to listen to this report. This is a report the next day after the violent riot there at the White House. Take a listen.
Ed, Calvin, and Nicole, breaking right now. We are just hearing that the Attorney General Bill Barr has ordered riot teams to come down from Washington, D.C. to Fort Lauderdale to assist local police. Riot teams from the Federal Department of Prisons also will be assisting here in D.C. with all the protests. I want to give you a sense of exactly where I am. Take a look at this back behind me. That is the White House. And in between the White House and where I'm standing right now is Lafayette Park. And this is where protesters have been gathering. In fact, this is the building.
Look at the graffiti. Look at the destruction of property. Again, they destroyed Lafayette Square. They tried to burn down St. John's Church. This is what went on the next day. Like Donald Trump had something to do with what happened to George Floyd. Donald Trump, the White House didn't have anything to do with George Floyd, but it was an election year. And Donald Trump was running for re-election. So the Democrats using this for politics wanted to make it part of the election cycle. The murder of George Floyd, it had to be part of the election cycle so they could get people to the polls, particularly black voters, but anyone who sympathized with black voters, remember that was the whole mantra over 2020, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. So if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then it was also to motivate you to go to the polls and elect Democrats. This is part of their get out the vote strategy. So they attacked the White House. Donald Trump is rushed to his underground bunker. Again, tons of violence, tons of destruction of property. They called, after Donald Trump was rushed to his bunker, they began making jokes about Donald Trump being rushed to his bunker and calling him bunker boy and all this stuff. And these violent protests, look at this. Look, at least 60 Secret Service members injured during George Floyd protests in D.C. 60 Secret Service. And I wonder if this is just Secret Service, because I know that Park Services was involved in trying to repel these protesters and violence. But they were trying to make it about Donald Trump because it was an election year and they needed to make this George Floyd spectacle about Donald Trump. That's why Jacob Frey refused to release the body cam video. That's why they encouraged Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris. They all encouraged the protest to continue. It was a get out the vote campaign. And they started calling Donald Trump bunker boy because he was rushed to his bunker. This is why when January 6th happened later that same year, it's like, this January 6th didn't happen in a vacuum. There'd been months of violence, months of destruction of property. Not only you talk about, the sacred halls of Congress being attacked on January 6th. What about the sacred hall of the White House, the executive branch of government, being attacked in May? And they talk about all the officers that were injured on January 6th. What about the 60 Secret Service officers and the Park Service officers who were injured during the George Floyd protests? And this is why when Nancy Pelosi, when they do, succeed at this tactic and they end up not only winning the White House, but I don't believe them winning the White House was on the up and up, but they end up winning Congress. Nancy Pelosi becomes Speaker of the House for a second time. And then they want to do a congressional hearing on the January 6th on the January 6th incident. And Republicans are like, no, we're not going to just look at what happened on January 6th. We want to look at all the violence that happened in 2020. We want to do a congressional committee on all of the violence, not just what happened on January 6th. We want to look at what happened at the White House in May. We want to look at the violence that happened in Minneapolis. We want to look at the violence that happened and looting and destruction of property, billions of dollars all over the country in 2020. Nancy Pelosi and Democrats said, no, we only want to look at January 6th. So this gives you some mindset into who these people are. And like I've been telling you, Nolan Wells is the George Floyd of 2026. Nolan Wells' death, whether there was something nefarious involved or he just drowned, whatever it is, they're going to use it. They're going to use his death and his dead body for the Get Out the Vote campaign of 2026. Nolan Wells is the George Floyd of 2026. And I've been telling you that. I've been telling you that for weeks. For at least 5 weeks, but we got some proof of that this week. They first took the circus on the road to New York City to the National Action Network. Then they went from the National Action Network to Chicago to the NAACP. And then they went from the NAACP to the National Urban League in Tennessee. And then this week they were in Atlanta at the National Association of Black Journalists meeting, and they have been taking this circus on the road. And I've been telling you that this is all about politics. You can see Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader here. You can see Christine Wells with the big smile on her face. She's living her best life right now. Al Sharpton, the stepfather, Ben Crump. So they're taking this show on the road from New York to Chicago, from Chicago to Nashville, and now they are at the National Association of Black Journalists in Atlanta, and you can see that that every one of these events, you can see the logo and the backdrop of every one of these different civil rights organizations. National Action Network is Al Sharpton, and then the NAACP in the back with their logo, and then National Urban League with their logo, and then the NABJ with their logo. And I've been telling you people, this is all about politics. This is get out the vote. Why are they here with Hakeem Jeffries, who's the Democrat minority leader? And at the National Urban League, they had another high-ranking congresswoman from the Congressional Black Caucus. And they had the NAACP. What was the NAACP doing just in May? I explained to you that after the Supreme Court issued their ruling that you couldn't draw congressional districts based on race, the NAACP came out standing with the Congressional Black Caucus, calling for student athletes that were committed to schools in the SEC to transfer out of the SEC to other schools, and state their reason for transferring is because of the Supreme Court ruling and that black voters are being disenfranchised. Not a single student athlete, as far as I know, did transfer and did heed what the NAACP was asking them to do. So they moved on to another strategy, and Nolan Wells became the perfect incident, the perfect situation that they could use to capitalize, to motivate voters to go to the polls in November. This is what this is all about. I played the clip of Hakeem Jeffries calling for a criminal investigation when he doesn't even have all the facts of the case. He doesn't even have all the facts. What Hakeem Jeffries is doing here is the same thing as Nancy Pelosi and James Clownburn and the rest of the Democrats were doing, kneeling on the grave of George Floyd back in 2020. Nolan Wells is the George Floyd of 2026. Listen to Hakeem Jeffries here again.
Laid to rest. Nolan Wells should be alive today, but instead he was just laid to rest in Mississippi. We stand with his parents, we stand with his family, and we stand with his community in calling for a complete and thorough criminal investigation.
A complete and thorough criminal investigation. You don't know who, you don't even know if it was a crime, and you're calling for a criminal investigation. This is completely ridiculous. You don't even have all the facts of the case, but he's calling for a complete criminal investigation. This is about politics, people. This guy wants to be Speaker of the House, and he didn't care if he has to kneel or stand on Nolan Wells's grave or whoever he has to use to get that gavel in his hand. That's all he wants. A criminal investigation. There's a grand jury. There's an investigation being done, but we're calling for a complete criminal investigation. You don't even know if there was a crime, fool.
And with his community in calling for a complete and thorough criminal investigation. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered. He was a star athlete, and yet the claim is that he drowned.
He was a star athlete, and the claim was that he drowned. He didn't even play for a D1 school. He was a star athlete. And so what does that mean? That if you're a star athlete, I mean, Michael Phelps would drown in an undertow in the ocean. What do you mean that he was a star athlete? He was a star athlete that he can fight the ocean? What is wrong with you people? He was a star athlete, so that means that he couldn't drown. 4,000 people drown every summer at a minimum. Sometimes some summers even more than not 400, 4,000. The water is extremely dangerous. It doesn't matter. The water don't care how great of an athlete you are. A rip current doesn't care how great of an athlete you are. 4,000 people drown every summer. Many of them are great athletes. Many people that can swim very well. But when you're taken under in a rip current, it doesn't matter how great of an athlete you are, Hakeem. It's completely ridiculous. So what happened this week? As I've been telling you, just like what happened in 2020, when they took the riot from Minneapolis, where George Floyd had lost his life, from Minneapolis all the way to Washington, D.C. to blame Trump for what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis, just like what happened in 2020. That's what they're doing now. They're taking this Nolan Wells case to the Trump administration, and they're demanding that the Trump administration intervene. And this came from the Congressional Black Caucus that's been involved in this from the beginning. The Congressional Black Caucus urges Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel to launch a federal review of Nolan Wells' death. So they put this out just the other day before this press conference that they did in Atlanta at the NABJ. And they are trying to blame Donald Trump and saying that Donald Trump is aiding in the cover up of the criminal investigation or the criminal the crime of Nolan Wells being unalived, and we don't even know if there was a crime. There's an active investigation going on. There's a grand jury that's already been convened. But why are they doing this? This is about politics, people. And Teslin Figueroa, who works with Ben Crump. She's a associate attorney with Ben Crump. She was on the Don Lemon show this week. And when the Congressional Black Caucus sent this letter demanding that Donald Trump intervene and send his Justice Department to do an investigation, she came on Don Lemon's show to talk about this letter from the Congressional Black Caucus. I want you to listen to a little bit of this conversation.
Meteslin, Congressional Black Caucus urges Attorney General Todd Blanche and the FBI Director Kash Patel to launch federal review of Nolan Wells' death. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely, Don. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
On. Good morning. So yes, the Congressional Black Caucus is now asking the feds, if you will, the FBI, to get involved, to launch an investigation. They are asking that 7 days, that they give a written response within 7 days. This is major news. I want to also just bring, just for clarity, and you know this, Don, and I think Reese knows as well. I've worked with Attorney Crump as a senior public policy advisor since 2012. So every major case that Attorney Crump has been on, I've been affiliated with in one way or the other. So this is important that we talk about what needs to happen from the legislative side. And I'm a little bit on 10, so pardon me. But when we put it out this morning and folks were in the comments saying, well, we can't trust, this FBI, well, why would we be bringing it to the FBI? Let me just do a little bit of straightening, if you don't mind, Don. Can I just have about 2 minutes just to straighten?
I don't think I can stop you, Teslin. Go ahead.
I'm trying to
give our other panelists time to talk, but go on.
Yes, I will.
Go ahead, Teslin. You got it.
I just want to say this quickly, and all due respect, to Dr. Umar Johnson. I saw his interview the other day on, one of the platforms, The Art of Dialogue, where he was saying, why is Ben Crump not taking this to the feds? Why are congressional leaders not taking this to the feds? And then immediately when this was put out, folks in the comments said, well, why are y'all taking it to the feds? So this is where I'm confused, Reese, because some of these content creators also say we don't need to be involved in the political process. So if we're not involved
listen to what she's saying. Listen to what she's saying. We need to be involved in the political process. Because there is a group of Black people who are saying that no tangibles, no reparations, then we're not voting. And these are Blacks that have said it, that we're not voting for Democrats and we're not voting for Republicans. We're going to sit out. We're not going to vote because we're not getting anything for our vote. So that's who she's talking about here. So she's saying we need to be involved in the political process. We need to get involved in the political process. This is about is motivating those Black voters who have said we're not getting anything for our vote. So we're going to sit out, motivating them to vote.
On, one of the platforms, The Art of Dialogue, where he was saying, why is Ben Crump not taking this to the feds? Why are congressional leaders not taking this to the feds? And then immediately when this was put out, folks in the comments said, well, why are y'all taking it to the feds? So this is where I'm confused, Reese, because some of these content creators also say we don't need to be involved in the political process. So if we're not involved in the political process, which has everything to do with who is in charge of the DOJ,
listen,
and then you say take it to the feds, and then we take it to the feds, and then y'all in the comments saying, why did y'all take it to the feds? Then y'all say don't vote. I'm just confused. If anybody out there can get us a new Department of Justice by close in a business,
listen.
The Congressional Black Caucus, Attorney Ben Crump, is doing everything possible in order to put it on the record.
That's what it's about. That's what she's saying. She's telling you. She's telling you everything. These people tell you everything. That they don't care what the Trump administration does. The only reason that they wrote this letter, the only reason that they're putting this out there is because they want it on the record. They want it on the record that they're requesting a federal review. They're requesting the DOJ to get involved. We don't even know the facts of the case. The FBI is involved and has been involved, quite frankly, from the beginning. This article from the U.S. Sun came out on the 14th. This is just 10 days after, not even 10 days, 9 days after Nolan Wells' body was found. You can see the headline. Hunt for the truth. Nolan Wells' friends retain attorneys as the FBI, the F in FBI stands for federal, as the Federal Bureau of Investigation joins investigation and officials issue important autopsy timeline date. So the FBI has been on the ground there in Mississippi. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said detectives have continued interviewing witnesses and working alongside multiple agencies, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is 9 days after the body was found. Okay. So the FBI is involved. What Teslin is saying here is the reason the Congressional Black Caucus wrote this letter, because they want to get it on the record so they can blame the Trump administration for not assisting in finding Nolan Wells's murderer. And we don't even know if Nolan Wells was murdered. There's an active investigation that's taking place with multiple agencies, as I just showed you. A grand jury convened, but they just want to get this on the record.
5 o'clock, posted. The Congressional Black Caucus, Attorney General Crump, is doing everything possible in order to put it on the record. Nobody is saying that we're putting all of our hopes in the DOJ. I'm saying the same thing that I said in the civil documentary on Netflix, which is over 100 cities have changed policy as a result of these cases. People don't want to talk about that, Reese, but that's just a fact. So we have to put it on the record.
Put it on the record.
College of Law taught me to put it on the record.
Put it on the record.
That if the feds don't do anything.
If the feds don't do anything, the feds are already there, sweetheart. Honey, 9 days after the body was found, the feds were there. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Multiple agencies is what the sheriff says are assisting in the investigation. So what are you talking about? If the feds don't do anything, the feds are already doing stuff. Why do you need to put this on the record? Because it's about politics, people. This is a get out the vote strategy.
Reese, but that's just a fact. So we have to put it on the record. That's what FAMU College of Law taught me, to put it on the record so that if the feds don't do anything, if the state does not do anything to bring charges against whoever is guilty.
If they don't do anything to bring charges against whoever is guilty. Who's guilty? Who's guilty? What are you talking about, Teslin? You don't even know if anybody is guilty. If charges aren't brought against the Gulf of America and the Riptide, if that's what happened, if he drowned, then you're telling me that this is cause for, then we need to go to the White House and we need to protest because the White House isn't bringing the charges that we want, and it's 2020 over again. Nolan Wells is the George Floyd of 2026. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. It's all about politics.
Now we have it on the record. And since the feds love doing hearings, let's do a hearing.
Let's do a hearing.
I'm down. Y'all down? Because I'm down.
There's a grand jury, fool. There is a hearing. There's a grand jury.
Let's do a hearing. Let's do an open hearing. And let's bring in everybody, including these so-called attorneys who are now representing these so-called friends. And let's also be careful on keep saying friends. The family has said over and over, these are not the friends of Nolan Wells. These are not the friends of Nolan Wells.
This is what the family says. These are not the friends of Nolan Wells. Well, they sure look like friends in this picture. He's got his arms, hugging, two of them. He's in the middle. He's smiling. I mean, they sure look like friends to me. What do you mean that they're not friends? I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy, people. What we're witnessing is just complete craziness. Let's listen to a little bit more of this.
I noticed the media keeps saying friends, just friends. I listened in a moment ago, but the family said they are not friends. So let's just put it all on record. So let's do it wide open.
Let's do it wide open.
Let's what everybody see. I'm going to give the other panels, but I do want to clarify some lies that have been going around on social media that I think is critically important. I know Attorney Crump wants to get out as well. I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay.
All right. That's enough of that. All right. So then this was on, I think this was Wednesday that this letter was presented to the Trump administration, and maybe the day before. And then this interview with, Teslin, it may have been the same day, it may have been Wednesday. It doesn't matter. I guess it was Thursday, yesterday, that is when they came out and they did the press conference at, the NABJ in Atlanta. And Al Sharpton, he just gives you the whole game. He tells you that this is about politics. I mean, if you were doubting what I've been saying for the past 5 weeks that this is about politics, I want you to listen to Al Sharptongue here tell you that this is about politics.
And these cases building up in a climate of an administration in Washington.
What does the administration in Washington have to do with it? What does the administration in Washington have to do with any of this stuff? The stuff that happened in Mississippi or Texas or anywhere else? What is the Trump administration doing that is causing black men to die and be killed? Like the Trump administration is responsible for this. This is the case that Al Sharptongue is trying to make here.
And these cases building up in a climate of an administration in Washington that we cannot feel will objectively investigate. There was
we can't
a time
feel
that we could say if state authorities fail us, we can go to the Justice Department. Even under George Bush, we went to the Justice Department. We, at this point, have to hope that we could deal with civil courts.
Listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying. That our only options at this point is civil court, which what's that? What's that, Ben Crump? What's civil court? Civil court is where that's not Ben Crump. He looks a lot like Ben Crump. That's the Nolan Wells stepfather. But civil court is where you go and you sue for money. That's why they set up the Nolan Wells estate. That's why she went and hired Ben Crump, because that's what Ben Crump does. That's what Ben Crump's specialty is suing in civil court and suing and making money. That's what it's about. So Al Sharpton is saying here that our only options is civil court, and then listen to what he says.
Department. We, at this point, have to hope that we could deal with civil courts, or secondly, that there's a balance of power with the Democrats taking the House in November, and maybe the Judiciary Committee under that can at least put a check and balance on cases that need to be investigated.
You hear what he said? He said that we need to elect Democrats if we want to find out. That's basically what he said. Said we have two options at this point. We have the option of civil court suing, which they're going to pursue that option no matter what. I promise you that there's going to be civil cases and laws, because that's what Ben Crump does. But he says the second option that we have is for Democrats to win the House of Representatives, and then Democrats being power, and then they can be a check on the administration. Listen to what he says again.
We went to the Justice Department. We, at this point, have to hope that we could deal with civil courts, or secondly, that there's a balance of power with the Democrats taking the House in November, and maybe the Judiciary Committee under that can at least put a check and balance on cases that need to be investigated.
maybe the House Judiciary Committee can put a check and balance, which is what he's saying is completely ridiculous. But he's completely transparent, and he gives you the whole game right there. That this is a get out the vote strategy. That if you want to know what happened to Nolan Wells, the George Floyd of 2026, then we need to make sure that Democrats control the House of Representatives after November, so the Judiciary Committee could do something, whatever the Judiciary Committee is going to do. This is completely ridiculous, people. Completely ridiculous. I want you to take a look at this. This is an interview that Don Lemon did with Ben Crump and the Nolan Wells parents. I guess this was maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. It was still fresh. And I want you to listen to what happens at the end of this interview that Don Lemon is doing with the parents and Ben Crump. Take a listen.
Thank you, Ben. You have to go, right? Is that what you were about to tell me?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, time flies.
Don, you don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. So, Ben, I appreciate you. Take care of this amazing family. And Miss Christine, Mr. Elmore, thank you. And if there's anything I can do for you, you know how to get in touch with me. I'm so sorry. My deepest condolences.
And Don, thank you for promoting the GoFundMe.
Thank you for promoting the GoFundMe. So let's talk about the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe has been, the goal for the GoFundMe has been raised now since they hit their goal. I think she's raised it 3 times. And now she's raised it to $950,000 because they hit their $850,000 goal. And so what's this money about? This GoFundMe money that Ben Crump is mindful to thank and to mention in this interview. Hey, audience out there, don't forget about the GoFundMe. There's a GoFundMe, and we need you to support us with the GoFundMe. Take a listen.
Mr. Elmore, thank you. And if there's anything I can do for you, you know how to get in touch with me. I'm so sorry. My deepest condolences.
And Don, thank you for promoting the GoFundMe even before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely is what Christine says. Oh, absolutely. We need that GoFundMe. They've raised almost $1 million on the GoFundMe. What's this money for? What's this money for? The funeral was paid for by Tyler Perry. The reward, which is $125,000. I mean, if it was me and I was really interested in finding out what happened to my son, I would take some of this $1 million GoFundMe money, nearly $1 million GoFundMe money, and I would add that to the reward for information on if anybody knows anything. Take it up to $250. Take it up to $250,000. You got the money. You've raised it on the GoFundMe. So you have a $125,000 reward. The money's been put in by Tyler Perry and Terrell Owens and Al Sharpton also put in a little $125,000. Why aren't you putting up some of the GoFundMe money for the reward for information? What is this money for? For the GoFundMe, nearly $1 million raised. They're quick to remind Don Lemon's audience, oh yeah, we gotta mention the GoFundMe. Don't forget about the GoFundMe. Donate to the GoFundMe. What's this money about? The autopsy was paid for by Colin Kaepernick. Funeral by Tyler Perry. All these things. I mean, what is this money for the GoFundMe? What's this about?
Here, so Ben, I appreciate
and
you.
Why are you laughing?
Take
What's
care
funny?
Of this amazing family, and Miss Christine, Mr. Elmore, thank you. And if there's anything I can do for you, you know how to get in touch with me. I'm so sorry. My deepest condolences.
And Don, thank you for promoting the GoFundMe even before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it helps us get investigators and
absolutely.
experts
Promote the
to break
GoFundMe.
down the phone and everything else.
Listen what he says the money's for. So this is what the money's for the GoFundMe.
You know how to get in touch with me. I'm so sorry. My deepest condolences.
And Don, thank you for promoting the GoFundMe even before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it helps us get investigators and experts to break down the phone and everything else.
Break down the phone. So the phone. What phone is he talking about? Talking about Nolan Wells' phone. Listen to what this guy's saying. Listen to what this guy's saying. That the GoFundMe donations are to help us get investigators to help us break down the phone, to help us break down Nolan Wells' phone. Why don't you just turn the phone over to the authorities? The authorities have the resources to break down the phone. You want to work with the authorities that are trying to figure out there's an active investigation, a grand jury. Why don't you just turn the phone over to the authorities and they have the resources? You don't need an investigator to break down the phone. But even before they have broken down the phone, as the investigators with the $1 million GoFundMe, $1 million worth of GoFundMe for investigators to break down the phone, we'll get to the phone in just a moment. But that's what he says, that the GoFundMe money is for investigators to help break down the phone.
Thank you for promoting the GoFundMe even before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it helps us get investigators and experts to break down the phone and everything else.
And two, I think
that's
during these times, we're not working, but bills don't stop.
Yeah, you're not working. You're going from city to city. New York to Chicago to New Orleans to Nashville to Atlanta. You can't be working. Yeah, so is that what the GoFundMe stuff is about? Ben Crump says it's about investigators to break down the phone, and Christine Wells says, well, I'm not working right now, so the GoFundMe is for that too. Are you even using it for your bills? What's going on with this GoFundMe? But then in this interview, Ben Crump is doing a interview with Jamal Bryant, We're going to listen to April Chapman break down what Ben Crump says about the GoFundMe in this interview. Take a listen.
What we are doing, and we're asking for everybody help who can help us. And so many people around America have helped us because they look at.
So when he's talking about help, he's talking about the GoFundMe. We're looking for people to help us donate to the GoFundMe. Nearly $1 million raised.
So many people around America have helped us because they look at Elmore and they look at Christine and they say, but by the grace of God, that could be my child too. And so we are asking everybody who can to try to help support them in the GoFundMe because we don't have a Department of Justice. Normally, Reverend Brown, you know, when we were doing Michael Brown, when President Obama and Ferguson, the DOJ came to help. When we were doing Breonna Taylor and President Biden, the DOJ came to help.
So you can see that early on, he's already putting it out there that we're not getting any assistance from the Trump administration. He's putting it out there. So this is why we need money. We need people to donate to the GoFundMe so we can get investigators to break down the phone because we're not getting any help from the Trump administration. Why don't you just give the phone to the authorities there in Mississippi and they'll break it down? But this is what he sees, putting it out there early on because this was a strategy. This is why I spelled it out. And I've been telling you guys for 5 weeks now that this is about politics. But he's putting it out there early on is that we're not getting any help from the DOJ and the Trump administration like we got from the Obama administration and the Biden administration. The Trump administration isn't helping us. So that's why we need you to donate to the GoFundMe. Listen to what he says.
Brown, when President Obama and Ferguson, the DOJ came to help. When we were doing Breonna Taylor and President Biden, the DOJ came to help. But in this administration, the DOJ isn't going to offer any help to Nolan Wells.
The FBI's already on the ground. What are you talking about? Many other agencies are assisting. What are you talking about? You're not going to get any help from the Trump administration. It's completely ridiculous. This is a grift, people. This is an absolute scam. If you're falling for this, you are a moron, okay? You're a moron if you're falling for this.
And Ferguson, the DOJ came to help. When we were doing Breonna Taylor and President Biden, the DOJ came to help. But in this administration, the DOJ isn't going to offer any help to Nolan Wells. We have to do it for ourselves. So we're trying to hire as many investigators as we can. We got an independent autopsy thanks to Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick. So what is the GoFundMe about? Colin Kaepernick paid for the independent autopsy. You're sitting here, you know, in an interview with Jamal Bryant, just like you did with the interview with Don Lemon. You're petitioning people that are watching this, playing on their emotions and asking them to donate to the GoFundMe, which you've raised nearly $1 million and keep raising the goal of the GoFundMe. And like you said, Colin Kaepernick paid for the autopsy. Tyler Perry paid for the funeral. The money that's being donated for a reward for information that's coming from other people. What is this? What are you talking about? You're trying to hire investigators to break down the phone. We need investigators. Listen to what he says here. It's hilarious.
Biden, the DOJ came to help. But in this administration, the DOJ isn't going to offer any help to Nolan Wells. We have to do it for ourselves. So we're trying to hire as many investigators as we can. We got an independent autopsy thanks to Colin Kaepernick. We are trying to get meteorologists because...
Meteorologists is what he said. We're trying to hire a meteorologist. This is what the GoFundMe is about. Look at April's face. We're trying to get a meteorologist is what the GoFundMe is about, which they've raised the limit at least 3 times, maybe even 4 to $950 now. And they'll eventually raise $1 million to hire a meteorologist. Why do you need a meteorologist? And then why'd you tell Don Lemon it's investigators to break down the phone? This is a grift, people. You guys can't smell this? This is a grift. And then this is Ben Crump at the NABJ on yesterday. I want you to listen to what he says here.
Need to do a thorough, fair, full, impartial investigation. That's what we're asking for. Everything else is just a distraction because Nolan's birthday is next Wednesday, August 19th.
Listen to this. So Nolan Wells' birthday is next Wednesday on August 19th. So he's going to tell you what they're asking.
It is going to be extremely difficult for his mother, his father, and his family, because this August 19th will be like no other that they've ever had.
She's a horrible actress. Horrible actress. Look at her here as Ben Crump is talking about Nolan Wells' birthday next week, and what he's asking for a national day of prayer and a national vigil for Nolan Wells. It's all about politics, people. But look at her face here and how she's crying and everything. But when she's doing the interview with Don Lemon, she's laughing and smiling and having a good old time. It's like two different people.
Anything I can do.
And if you've watched her social media content, hey Boo Bear and all this stuff, and then she can just turn it on and turn it off. This is ridiculous.
How to get in touch with me. I'm so sorry. My deepest condolences.
And Don, thank you for promoting the GoFundMe even before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it helps us get investigators and experts to break down the phone and everything else.
And two, I think
that's
during these times, we're not working, but bills don't stop. That's another thing too. So, because I've been seeing some stuff online, and you cannot. I just
don't even look at the craziness.
Yeah. Don't look at that.
It's funny. So let's listen to more of what Ben Crump says here.
For the last 19 years. I mean, it's a milestone when your child gets to be 18 years old. You try to breathe a little easier every now. You say, man, we almost got them there. They're at the cusp of being an adult, cusp of manhood. And you heard how Elmore was working so hard, him and Nolan, his football career. I mean, he had a good start, but this was really going to be his year. I mean, so much hope, so much promise. And then July 4th came, and 4th of July will never be the same to Christine and Elmore. And on the 19th, next Wednesday, his family, we're all asking for prayer for Nolan. I know there's going to be a prayer visual in Ocean Springs. I know Reverend Al is going to work to make sure we're all praying all across the nation. But y'all, let's pray. Can we pray together in unity to say, let's get to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells?
So, if you want to get to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells, then why haven't you guys turned over Nolan Wells' phone to the authorities for a forensic investigation? The lawyers for Christine Wells that work alongside of Benjamin Crump, they came out with a letter this week saying, yeah, we're willing to turn over the phone. When I saw that, you're willing to turn over the phone, I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a month and a half after this guy's body has been found, and you're sending a letter out a month and a half later saying you're willing to turn over the phone. You've been telling us, you told Don Lemon that that's what the GoFundMe money was about, to hire investigators to break down the phone. We're a month and a half later, and the phone has not been, there's been no forensic investigation on the phone. And he's saying that, that there's an urgency to find out what happened. Listen to this guy.
Can we do that, America? Can we at least come together in unity on his birthday? Everybody who claimed to ever be a friend of his, can we come together in unity and pray for the truth and try to have love in our hearts for this family, for this broken-hearted
what a
mother
grifter.
and father, his
What a
sisters and
grifter.
brothers? Can we try to give them grace and give them love and pray for their humanity, for their son who was lost on 4th of July and is never coming back? Is that so much to ask? Let's have a national day of prayer on August 19th, next Wednesday.
So they want this is all about keeping this in the media. This is about keeping this in the media and keeping this going all the way into November. This is what this is about. This is what they want. The other congresswoman from the Congressional Black Caucus who was at this meeting, at every single meeting they had a representative from the Congressional Black Caucus. Where's that video? Where she's telling, here it is right here. She's basically asking Black journalists to keep this in the media. We want to keep this story in front of the people. We want to keep this going all the way to November, because this is about politics.
As a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, I'm the second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. We are demanding a full federal investigation. Kash Patel, we're demanding a full federal investigation as to what has actually happened to Nolan Wells. We want to make sure that every stone is unturned because his life matters.
We want to make sure that every stone is unturned, but you just put out a statement this week, 6 weeks after his body was discovered, saying that you're willing to meet with investigators to turn over the phone to do a forensic investigation. Mind you, is that they started this by saying that the phone and messages had been deleted from the phone, and that there was foul play because messages had been deleted and other things had been deleted from the phone. This is what they started in the beginning. I'm going to tell you what this is about, but let's listen to this real quick, and I'll tell you what this is about.
Why are there deleted messages on his phone? Messages that were deleted from his cell phone.
We want her to talk about the cell phone deleted messages.
There were things deleted in a dead man's phone that he didn't have access to.
They claim that text messages from Nolan's phone were deleted.
So this is what they came out with initially, that text messages, things were deleted from the phone, but there hasn't been a forensic investigation. But that doesn't matter. This is what they do. They put that information out there, and that information becomes part of the narrative, and you never ever get that, out of the ether. It becomes part of the narrative, even if it's refuted. Even if later on there's a forensic investigation and it turns out that there were no text messages out there, you can see other YouTubers and commentators are saying that and that becomes just like the hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot became the narrative of the Michael Brown case. Still to this day, there's people who say hands up, don't shoot, even though that was proven by the Obama Justice Department that was a lie, that never happened. And the deleted text messages on Nolan Wells' phone never happened. There are no deleted messages on Nolan Wells' phone. They haven't turned the phone over for a forensic investigation, but they're saying that we want to get to the bottom. There's an urgency to get to the bottom, but they're only coming out 6 weeks later saying that we're willing to meet with investigators to turn over Nolan Wells' phone. You can't smell this, people? This is a grift. This is a lawyer talking about the phone. Take a listen.
He's saying, which is, we have procedures that the courts require that we as lawyers ethically have to follow in order to turn over evidence. There's chains of custody.
So he's saying that there's procedures in turning over the phone. Okay, we're 6 weeks down the road. You're telling me that there's an urgency in finding out what happened to Nolan Wells, and we're 6 weeks later, and you're just now releasing a statement that you're willing to meet with investigators to turn over the phone. You're saying that there's procedures. Well, do those procedures take 2 months for you to turn over the phone?
Procedures that the courts require that we as lawyers ethically have to follow in order to turn over evidence. There's chains of custody. There's protected private information. And we are willing, in fact, today, I'm not doing anything.
We're willing today. We're willing today, 6 weeks later, willing today. How do you know there's not any important information on that phone that could have led to another suspect that got away now? Because it's 6 weeks later. We're willing today to turn over the phone and to do the forensic investigation 6 weeks later.
Turn over evidence. There's chains of custody. There's protected private information. And we are willing, in fact, today, I'm not doing anything the rest of the day, to meet with the FBI and our person, our expert, to go over that phone. And we've made that clear. So we're ready to do that at any moment.
Wow.
Lisa just want to say one last point on that.
Wow. And then this is the other lawyer. I believe she's the one that wrote the letter 6 weeks later saying, oh, yeah, we're willing to turn over the phone. We're willing to meet to turn over the phone. And listen to what she says.
I'm going to back up a little bit. So just to clarify, what the agreement was that the DA's office, and this is the Jackson County DA's office, as well as our forensic team, and possibly the FBI, were going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time with everybody together.
Why has that not been done yet? Nolan Wells' body was found on July 6th. Why has that not been done yet? I said 9 days here. Yeah, that's right. July 6th is when Nolan Wells' body was found, and it's already being reported, 8 days later, a week later, that the FBI and multiple agencies were already involved. Why hasn't the phone been turned over? Why hasn't that already been turned over? 6 weeks later.
FBI, we're going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time.
Ben Crump told Don Lemon that we need you to donate to the GoFundMe so we can hire investigators to help break down the phone. But you guys haven't broke down the phone. You're running around telling everybody that text messages have been deleted. What did you guys find in your forensic investigation? People, you can't see this scam. It's an absolute scam, people.
With everybody together, right? This is very common in the law. I mean,
it's not common. It's not common to wait 6 weeks to do it, lady. It's not. That's not common. We're almost done. So they did the panel discussion with Nolan Wells' parents and Ben Crump and Al Sharpton at the National Association of Black Journalists in Atlanta. And I want you to listen to a little bit of what Ben Crump says here. It's hilarious because Ben Crump says the same thing that Hakeem Jeffries said in the clip that I played of Hakeem Jeffries. Oh, he was a star athlete, that he should have been able to battle the ocean and swim against the current and riptide because he was a star receiver at a D1 school. It's completely ridiculous, people. Listen to Ben Crump here.
They said we want a thorough investigation because when they found Nolan, they expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play.
The sheriff did not say that there was no foul play. The sheriff said that we haven't found any foul play yet, but we're still looking to see if there was any foul play. But early on, the sheriff said, we haven't found any foul play yet. And they took that and ran with the narrative that the sheriff said that there was no foul play. That's not what the sheriff says. The sheriff says, if the sheriff said that there's no foul play, then why is there an active investigation going on? Hunt for the truth. Nolan Wells' friends retain attorney. FBI joins investigation and officials issue important autopsy timeline. This is the sheriff right here. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said detectives have continued interviewing witnesses and are working alongside of multiple agencies, including the FBI. If the sheriff thought that there was no foul play, then why is he interviewing witnesses? Why is he working with multiple agencies, including the FBI? Because this is a lie that Ben Crump is saying. And many lies that these people have been told. I mean, they've just been lying from the beginning. Because this is about politics. There's an active investigation going on. A grand jury convened. No, the sheriff did not say there was no foul play. He says that they hadn't found any foul play yet, but they're continuing to look to see if there was foul play.
Thorough investigation because when they found Nolan, they expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play. And they was like, no, my son, he knows how to swim. Our son is a college athlete.
Listen to this. Same thing that Jeffrey says. Our son is a college athlete. He knows how to swim. These people are idiots. Who cares if he's a college athlete and knows how to swim? It's the ocean. Many people have been drowned in the ocean that know how to swim. It doesn't matter if he knows how to swim and how great of an athlete you are. It's the ocean. There's rip currents. There's tides that take you under. And the ocean will kill you dead very easily. It doesn't matter how, in this narrative that he was a star athlete and he knew how to swim, that means that he could battle the ocean. These people are insane.
They expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play. And they was like, no, my son, he knows how to swim. Our son is a college athlete. Our son is in great shape. We don't believe that he just drowned and nobody
in the ocean
knows nothing.
In the ocean. He was a college athlete. He was in great shape. He knew how to swim. So that means that he couldn't drown in the ocean. Do you understand how retarded that is? Do you understand how retarded this person is who said that? And Hakeem Jeffries as well, who said that, and anyone else who's saying that if you are a star athlete and you're in great shape and you know how to swim, that means you won't drown in the ocean? That's retarded. I want you to listen a little bit more what he says here.
Nobody saw nothing. I mean, there are about 300, 400 people on the island. And so that's what they were saying. We want to know what happened. We want truth. We want transparency. We don't want his death to be swept under the rug.
Well, just so to make sure the audience and the people watching at home know, so they did declare very quickly, as you're noting, that he drowned when his body was recovered on July 6th.
No, that wasn't declared. No, that wasn't declared at all. There's an active investigation going on. The sheriff's interviewing witnesses and working with the FBI and multiple agencies. No, that wasn't declared at all. That's a lie.
So to make sure the audience and the people watching at home know, so they did declare very quickly, as you're noting, that he drowned when his body was recovered on July 6th. Mom and Dad and you all know that he is a student athlete, able to swim. On July 4th
Listen
on
to
Long
these people.
Island, it was very crowded. Certainly the suggestion is someone would have seen a child in distress. There is going to be the convening of a grand jury. Now,
yes.
the DA of this area, Angel Myers McElrath, is a very out loud, proud Republican.
Listen.
If there is a U.S. attorney appointed to this case, it will likely be a Trump appointee. I'm just curious, Ben, from you and Rev, I think we have to be very candid here. What concerns do you have about the racial animus that we are seeing so much of play in this case?
Well,
you or Rev, whoever.
All I'll say, and then defer to Rev, you want to believe that this is a child, that everybody is going to do their level best to find out what happened so these broken-hearted parents will know what happened to their child. In time, we've seen Christine and the family be attacked just for asking questions.
Just for asking questions. Just for asking questions.
Trying to say, no, we want to question this part of the investigation, that part of the investigation, because day one you said no foul play, but tell me now, what are you doing to be able to get us to the truth? And that is, it causes them sleepless nights. We talk at night. And so trust but verify. We are trying to cooperate everything we can do to say, hey, we want to help, but we want you to give them a thorough investigation. We want you to do for him what you would do for your child.
Rev, I'm going to...
So we want to help is what he's saying. I'm almost done. But none of this was done when Obama's chef mysteriously drowned in Martha's Vineyard. None of this was convened. Nobody asked for a DOJ investigation and for the White House to get involved. There was no Al Sharpton or Ben Crump meetings and all this stuff. Very suspicious circumstance. Guy goes out paddleboarding and ends up dead, drowning. Very suspicious as well. This is even more suspicious than Nolan Wells, in my opinion. But nobody cared. Nobody cares about Obama's chef. And I mean, if you can't see through this grift again, if you can't see that this is all political and what's going on, then I can't help you. But anyway, we'll be back on Monday, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.